welcome to Salads That Don't Suck. We are starting with my infamous Caesar salad. This is by far my most requested salad, and it starts with hand-torn croutons. Like, how can you go wrong when you're making your own croutons? You cannot. So we start with a French baguette, and we literally just tear out croutons. So I split it in half and then just start tearing off bite-sized pieces that we will put directly on our sheet pan. I want this series to feel more like a cooking class than maybe just like your typical social media video. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but my goal is that you walk away feeling very capable and not necessarily with even more questions than maybe when you started. I will not be using all of these croutons today, so I will just freeze whatever we don't use. And then when I want to use them again, I will take them out of the freezer, throw them on a sheet pan, put them back in the oven for a little bit to crisp them back up. Okay, now that we have our croutons all torn up, the benefits of doing hand-torn croutons versus just cutting them kind of like in a more traditional style is you get all of these great like crevices for the oil and salt and pepper to get into, and it just creates a really nice bite. So we'll get our oil going. Use whatever oil you prefer. I go with either olive oil or avocado oil. Olive oil is obviously going to have a little bit more flavor than avocado oil. And then I like a squeeze bottle. I'm not trying to rep any brands here. It just happens to be the squeeze bottle I have at the time. Next we go in the decent amount of salt. And fresh cracked pepper. I'm going to massage this all in together, get it all into those crevices that we've created, and then we will get it into the oven at 425. We'll start at like 10-15 minutes, see how we're doing, and go from there. Croutons are in the oven. They are just about done, so we're going to go ahead and make our salad dressing. One of the things that truly sets apart a salad is making your own dressings. They're not complicated, and they just add so much depth and flavor to your salad. So we're starting with 1 egg yolk in the bowl. We are going to add the juice of 2 lemons. You always want to juice your lemons with the cut side up. That way the seeds aren't falling down into your bowl. Of course, you can use a juicer, but my hands work just as well. Now that our juice is in, we are going to mix that with our egg yolk. The lemon is the only acidity that we have in this dressing, So that's why I use 2 lemons versus 1 and then using a little bit of vinegar. I like the freshness and the flavor that the lemon brings. We're gonna add in just a touch of salt for right now. And we're gonna go ahead and add in some Dijon mustard. A Caesar salad overall is pretty simple. The base is very similar to a mayonnaise or an aioli. Some of the key differences will be adding anchovies and Parmesan cheese. So once we have our egg yolk, lemon, and Dijon, we will start drizzling in our oil. You want to drizzle a little bit at a time and wait until it's combined before you keep going. This ensures a proper consistency of your dressing. And this will also help your dressing not break. And when something breaks, that is when your fat and like your water or acid separates. And that's when you get kind of that like heavy mouthfeel to a sauce or a dressing because it has come apart. And you can see that my dressing is already starting to thicken. The egg yolk and the Dijon are going to help pull the olive oil and lemon juice together. I'm going to pause here for a second, check on my croutons because I'm starting to smell them. I still had 3 minutes left on my timer for my croutons, but I was getting a lot of that baked bread smell. And so I knew it was time to go ahead and pull them. Your nose knows, guys. Like when you're in the kitchen and you're baking or you're cooking and you're starting to really smell the aroma, it's probably time to give it a check. We're just going to keep going with the oil until we hit the consistency that we're looking for. Okay, just about there. I don't want it as thick as an aioli. So it's looking pretty good. Let's test it for our ratios between acidity and fat. Still a little bit more acidic than I would like, so we're going to keep going with the oil. Okay. That is looking gorgeous. Let's give it another test. Really nice. You get the bright lemon flavor, a little bit of grassiness from the olive oil. Now we're going to turn kind of like our base into Caesar dressing. So I do 1 garlic clove grated. You only need 1. It's a raw garlic clove. The flavor is going to go a long way. Next, we're going to add in a decent amount of finely grated Parmesan cheese. a good size squeeze from our anchovy paste. I really like this tubed anchovy paste. It just makes making this dressing very easy. If you don't want to use anchovy paste, you can also use Worcestershire, which is also made from anchovies. And then a good amount of fresh cracked black pepper. All right. I already tell that I'm going to want a little bit more Parmesan cheese. The best way to try is with a crouton or a piece of lettuce. Trying with a utensil is great, and especially if I'm cooking at someone else's house, I will not be using a crouton or a piece of lettuce. But if you're at your own home, that really will show like how the flavor is going to carry through the salad. Your dressing is always going to taste more acidic alone than once it's combined with all the other ingredients of your salad. So using a crouton or a piece of lettuce can help you really distinguish how it's going to taste altogether. So good. And I'm gonna just add a pinch of salt. And honestly, it's perfect. All right, we have our croutons done. Our salad dressing is done. So we are going to move on to our lettuce. You could have done this like first thing. Just depends on your preference. I wanted to get the croutons done firstly, so I went ahead and did that. I'm just taking the stems off of my kale. I start at the bottom with the thickest part of the stem. I just grip it with my thumb and my pointer finger, and once I have all the stems taken out of the kale, then I will give it a rough chop, and then we'll get it rinsed and dried off. Anytime you're using a like fresh green, like one that has not been prepackaged, you want to make sure that you're giving it a good rinse, especially if you are buying organic greens, because there will be organic material, also known as bugs, on your greens, which is actually a great sign. That shows you that they're not using harmful pesticides, and a lot of the bugs live in harmony with the greens. So as you can see, like my greens are looking nice. They're not like completely eaten through, but I guarantee you when I go to rinse it, there will be some friends in the water. And it also helps to get off any extra dirt or anything that may be on your salad greens. For when you're thinking of a serving size of greens, I would go for 2 servings per bunch. And that's going to be a good, like, healthy serving. So I have 2 bunches of kale here. So this would get me about 4 servings. Now if you're doing, and that's more of like an entree size. If you are doing this as a side salad, then you could go probably about 3 servings per bunch. I'm always a fan of having a little bit left over versus running out. So I go on the like heavier side. I just have my utility chef's knife here. It's my favorite knife for at my house. I have one that goes in my chef bag and then one that I have here. And you really don't need that much equipment when you're in the kitchen. A really good knife, a good wooden cutting board, some bowls, but that can handle a lot of work. So I'm just going to, I rolled up my kale and now I'm going to shave it into, I think it's about 1/4 to 1/2 inch ribbons. I don't do a ton of chopped salads. I've learned actually most of my clients prefer to not have like finely chopped salads. They said they feel like they don't want to feel like they're eating rabbit food. So I just do ribbons and that seems to work really well. All right, now I'm going to get this washed. Okay, I have my greens rinsing in this bowl. You can do this a couple of times where you put water in, move your greens around, dump the water out, repeat a couple of times to get a good rinse. Just going to pull our greens out, lay them down on my paper towel. Another key component of a salad is not having soggy greens. You always want to get your greens as dry as possible. I don't personally own a salad spinner, but they're great and I've used them before. We just have a very tiny kitchen, so we have to maximize our space, and that sometimes come at the cost of not having certain equipment, single-use equipments. But here is what the water looks like. That's mostly just leaves in there, but there's some dirt and some other things in there, so just a good reminder to rinse your greens. I'm just taking another paper towel, laying it on top. The nice thing about kale is it's a very hardy green, so it can handle all of this squishing and squeezing, where like a butter lettuce may not, that would bruise it. So in that instance, I would definitely just be more gentle when I'm rinsing my greens. But kale is very hardy and it can handle it. Okay, now that our kale is dry, we're going to move it to a clean bowl. And this is where we will assemble our salad from. Okay, assembly is very simple. We have our dry greens here, salad croutons, a little bit of extra Parmesan cheese. So I'll add some croutons in with our greens. And you always want to start with a smaller amount of salad dressing than you think you may need, because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So just gonna go in with my hands. Feel free to wear gloves. Use salad tongs if you would prefer, but I wash my hands a lot, so very used to using them. Add a little bit more dressing. think we will need just a touch more. We want to make sure that every leaf is nicely coated, but not drenched. So we're pretty close. Okay, that looks just about perfect. So we will go ahead and place our salad in our bowl, top with a little bit of fresh Parmesan. And I like to add a couple of more croutons on top. I like to crumble some so I get a little bit of like that crispy crouton in every bite. Another great way to get like that crispiness throughout the entire salad is to toast some panko breadcrumbs and then use those on top. It's so good. There you have it, everyone's favorite Caesar salad. I hope you give it a try, and more importantly, I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Shoot me a DM. I'm always happy to help you guide the way through your salad journey. Enjoy!